On this episode of the NFA Podcast, we go over market news, which includes the Trump dinner. We dive deep into why and how the OpenAI video was created. We also look into various tokens and stocks that we're following and sum up the entire industry. We also talk about the Thailand ban on 5 different exchanges and a lot more. Tune in to find out. Hi everyone, and welcome to our weekly episode of the NFA Podcast, where we do not give you financial advice. Hosted by Nish, Brackers, and anyone else listening. This week we are going to sum up the weekly news, crypto updates, tech updates, emerging tech updates, and traditional finance markets like we do every week. So if you're new here, welcome to the show. Again, not financial advice.
No. None of it, but we will discuss the markets. We do discuss the markets, but basically from our own vantage point.
Mm-hmm.
And we had a little chat before the show, like who has which news items. I forgot to mention one, so let me get back to that at the end. But I did notice Broadcom had a huge jump in stocks. Not a tip, but it's noticeable. And it's something interesting because it's a chip maker like Nvidia, which is something that we will discuss later on. There was a lot of news this week on one hand, and then there was also, if you look at it on a little broader perspective, there's not a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So what is something that caught your eye?
So last week we spoke about the SUI protocol Cetus and their hack. That caught my attention on the way that SUI and the ecosystem has come together to fix this. Should I just dive in?
Yeah, go ahead. I'd like to hear what you think of it.
So last week we spoke about the problem of decentralization and how SUI and Cetus were able to pause smart contracts, which doesn't really make it decentralized. Turns out that it was actually done through a voting mechanism. So the community came together, they voted to pause these smart contracts. So it was still decentralized. Now, what I really like is that SUI has come together with their community again, come up with a plan of action, and Cetus has borrowed money to return users their funds. So, it works out really well. To be honest, I think the way that they've come out of this has been great. I really like what they've done. Quick action, full transparency, users first. It's everything that you want from.
What is Cetus though? I don't understand. Is it a company or what is it the name of the DEX?
Yeah.
I'm not in SUI, so yeah. And it's the DEX, and it's run by who? It's not run by SUI, clearly,
No,
right?
it's their
not
own
owned by SUI at all.
entity.
Here's the question I think people are really asking. Is SUI the next Solana, and is that the next Ethereum? I think that's the sort of the step up that they're making from bronze, silver to gold in terms of size, not in terms of market potential. Then in terms of market potential, it could be the other way around.
There's definitely a huge debate between the two communities. And what I find really interesting is both of them are set up in the right place. Let's be real. If this happened on BNB or Ethereum, no one would have got their funds back. No smart contracts would have been paused. No voting would have been placed. And that's the top 2 and 3 tokens.
Do you think so on Ethereum? You couldn't, because you couldn't pause. You think that would be the reason? The voting wouldn't have worked the same way.
I don't think that they would have moved as fast.
But the voting, I think, is so crucial. Again, that it, for me, right, to see then that at SUI that it works, that the community does vote if there's a big thing, and you can revoke transactions and all those kind of things. So I think it's very positive for the industry, but it doesn't get, the only thing that gets mentioned is the hack.
Yeah.
And that I think is a shame.
Yeah, of course. There's a lot of growth that's already taken place. Look at how far we've come, from where we were 3 years ago, where all you could do is just look at your profile picture on X. Now we've come to the point where we are actually using them in the use case that they were meant for.
Yeah, that it is really interesting. But in crypto, other than that, this week there was no news. The thing that was noticeable, of course, was the little bit of a pullback from the all-time high. And it doesn't appear to be how will we say that? There doesn't seem to be an expectancy there will be an all-time high for Bitcoin again anytime soon. The question that everyone is asking is, when are the altcoins getting?
Yeah, when is it alt season?
Yeah, when is alt season really starting? And that's the thing that surprised me. If we look at the fear and greed meter, I'll put it up here, fear and greed meter. A lot of greed, we're over the 70s on greed. But altcoin season hasn't started. And usually, as far as I recall in this industry, when the greed is high, altcoin season tracks, but altcoin season is still under 30 on a scale of 0 to 100.
Really? The next news that I had, which I really found interesting, was that Thailand banned 5 exchanges yesterday, right? The SEC of Thailand. So this is Bybit, X, CoinX, OKX, and XT, because they're unlicensed in Thailand. But these guys have been in Thailand for so long, so I'm confused why it took them so long to ban these exchanges. OKX has been around since 2013.
Yeah, having dealt with regulations in Switzerland, the UAE, and Singapore, having never even engaged with the one in the EU, it is clear that when countries start regulating, they usually draw a line in the sand somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
If you're below that line in the sand, you're basically screwed. But they usually announce it to these exchanges before they impose the sanctions.
Yeah.
So they usually say file for the license unless you do so, you will be banned from operating. And if you then don't file for the license, then you're basically screwed.
Last week, we spoke about the Trump dinner, and there's news this week that calculated the cost per seat. Did you see that article?
No.
It came down to about $1 million per seat, per member.
Pay $1 million to have dinner with President Trump.
And the best part is that there were articles online talking about how bad the food was.
So you have other news? You got more news? Or what is your final news?
The last one.
I thought the Thailand news was interesting. Oh, you got another one?
Yeah, the last one was that the Supreme Court. So there's this guy that's being investigated by the SEC in the US, and he asked Coinbase to reject the SEC probe into his identity, claiming that they shouldn't have rights to it. The Supreme Court's now involved, saying that Coinbase needs to give us his data and his wallet. So we'll see where that goes.
I would be amazed if under US law, an exchange does not have to provide the KYC information of a suspected criminal.
There was that case against Pavel, right? The founder of Telegram and Ton, because people are using Telegram for these like child pornography, rape chats. I mean, like really messed up stuff, you know, but that's the way people are going to use what tools they have, you know.
But they will. But you have to come up, if you're a platform in the middle, you really have to think when you are aiding the messenger.
Yeah.
It's really an important thing. When are you the phone company, and when are you willfully distributing this content? And it's a really, it's a difficult subject. It's definitely not easy. And that's what always pisses me off in the media, that the media then says, well, it's easy, you be like this or that. But they don't understand with digital media, it's completely different.
It's different, yeah.
Some messages are stored. Some messages are live. You cannot intercept live messages. Some are stored. Now, when they're stored on your server, different thing again.
Yeah.
So the weird thing is that video that we discussed last week was a video announcing the merger of OpenAI with IO, the names of these companies alone. But okay, OpenAI merging with IO, which in the end turns out that OpenAI paid $6.5 billion to buy all the shares in IO. And it already owned 23%. I used to think, because that's what media reported, that Sam Altman himself owned 23%, but it was apparently OpenAI. The interesting thing that happened was the video that they shot turns out to have cost $3 million. $3 million! With 2 nerds talking about nothing.
It was a 5-day shoot. 5 days. And it cost $3 million. You know what? Hats off to the production crew for making that kind of profit. Hats off for the media house for quoting that number.
Yeah, and everybody says it could have been done for under $1 million. There's some other great things. So the San Francisco Fire Department worked with them, and the Department of Transportation. Apparently, it's good for San Francisco public transport that they moved a bus stop 1 block just for this one video. Because as the San Francisco Standard reported, which I thought was very funny, it said, how 2 billionaires walking to have a coffee clearly would really promote using public transport. I had some debates with people after my newsletter on Sunday. Why did I spend my whole tech newsletter on this one acquisition, which I've never done, one subject?
Yeah.
Because I think it's symbolic for the state of people's ego in the tech industry. And because I had the impression bless you.
Sorry, thank you.
I had the impression it was all staged. Now, I know it was all staged. You know why? There's a shot where Sam Altman in the beginning walks to the meeting. And as he's walking, people are walking this way, and they pass him just before he gets into the middle of the shot, which is really, really tough to do, even if you stage it. So here's what people noticed. They started tracking all the extras in the shot. So they started seeing, oh, this guy with the red cap is in the background of Sam Altman's shot. He's also in the background of Jony Ive's shot. And that's when people realized it was all staged. Because they noticed the extras were actually in both scenes. And that's when they realized it was multiple day shooting. Why didn't they have enough budget so the extras could put on different coats?
How
different
crazy
clothes?
is that? $3
It's so
million,
silly.
less than 5,000 has gone towards towards all the permits, and you still couldn't afford to pay your extras or at least find a hat at home. And I did production, right? So me and Nikki used
Find
to
the
help
hat
her
at
out.
home.
We would take stuff from home all the time because if you have it and
Yeah.
the client doesn't have a budget, you just make it work.
To me, what it signals is two things. One is the whole craze about AI. Just that you can do anything right now and people won't care. If he would really buy that building that he was standing in, they wouldn't give a shit. His investors just happy to be in OpenAI, even if it's a 300 billion value. The second thing is, I think, the ego of tech founders. And let's face it, I've given interviews in the past when I was young and really, really stupid, where I refused to meet the prime minister, the queen. I mean, at a point where I was at an ego level, just so the queen wanted to meet me. I gave her 3 dates that suited me in the next 6 months. So I could actually judge this. And then usually you fail and you learn a little bit. It looks like Sam Altman in particular really believes the shit that he says. If you actually say, which he actually said that he thought I.O. in the history of the world, there's never been a place with as much talent accumulated as at this company I.O. that he just paid $6.5 billion for. And I'm thinking, really? There has never been a company, never been a group of people together. And as this article in the San Francisco Standard said really eloquently, really, the Manhattan Project? You think those people that came up with the nuclear bomb as they were in a nuclear arms race with the Nazis, those were not smarter than the people at I.O.? Just to name one group, for crying out loud.
Tech founders they have to be good at marketing in order for their companies to go somewhere. And this is what we would always tell companies that we would work with. And I still say it till date. If you're not getting out there and you're not getting out on media and you're not building your personal presence as a founder, what's going to set you apart?
It's a really good point. But in this case, don't you think that Jony Ive doesn't need to build his brand? He's freaking Jony Ive. Steve Jobs asked him every day to go to lunch with him. That's it. That's your whole tagline. I had lunch with Steve Jobs for 20 years because he thought I had smart things to say. Done.
But
do you need to make a video for 3 million?
I didn't know about Jony Ive until this podcast.
Well, that's why I'm in your life, because I give you value.
But you see, that's clearly what I mean. Now everyone knows because this video is so freaking absurd.
By the way, what do you think of the amount of views? 700,000 views. I need to ask you as a marketer. Seriously. I have to ask you as a marketer. For 3,600,000 views, do you think is it money well spent?
No.
I don't think it's very viral.
I haven't seen this video anywhere on Twitter. I haven't seen the news about it anywhere online. So what they've done is maybe they went to their agency and said, I have $3 million of budget, and the agency just did production, but there's a follow-up to it, right? There are ads, there are influencers, there's PR, there's so much more that needs to go into this. And to be honest, you could have probably done this within less than $1 million.
I think if they really wanted to do this in a way that it makes them look nice and smart, they should have shot this on iPhones, because freaking Jony Ive is the designer of the iPhone. So they should have shot this on the iPhone. The whole thing should have been shot on
AI
iPhone.
extras.
With AI, yes, and then with AI in it, and with ChatGPT, with OpenAI tools. Use Sona, whatever you call that.
Something more creative
that relates to AI.
But again, they're not thinking about the message that they're sending. They're thinking about egos. Like you said, he shows his shoes in the video, right? So it's an ego play. This is not for their marketing. This is for them, for their personal agenda.
That I also find that interesting. Exactly what you're saying. That then the comment was, "Hey, he's wearing the Adidas Lego sneakers or whatever brand Lego sneakers. That's so cool because kids like Lego." And I'm thinking that's what the comment that you want. That you have the same extras in the back of each shot. You're walking the wrong way in San Francisco, and no one talks about the product. And there's one mention about the product, that Sam Altman has taken it home, a first prototype, and is testing something Jony Ive created. And here's the whole thing that I find so annoying. So while I'm shooting this, I'm getting angry. There's a laptop in front of me that I'm shooting on, right? With a webcam on top. And I have my iPhone here. The notes are on. Because believe it or not, I have notes. And you would never think of it when you watch this podcast. Anyway, they think they're creating a third device that everybody will have. Other than the laptop and a phone, there'll be a third device which will be AI-based without a screen, probably manipulated or controlled by audio. And it's very interesting to think about what it could be. But the discussion is not about that at all. And they're going to launch it next year. Their discussion is about, oh, I think you're so great. It's amazing the team you have. And it's basically, there's these two Dutch comedians van Cote and de Bie that had this great line that they did this skit where one guy says, but enough about me. What do you think of my hair? So it's a really funny joke, which very few people actually get. And it's exactly what I'm seeing in this video. Like when Sam Altman says, I/O has the best collection of most talented people ever assembled in the world. He's basically waiting for Jony Ive to then reciprocate and go like, well, what you've done at OpenAI is amazing. And then Jony Ive actually does say in the video, but Sam has this amazing blah, 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 the courage that he has and all this kind of stuff. The courage is go to Gaza and try to feed a bunch of people there right now. That will be courage.
God.
For crying out loud, you're a software company. Let's not talk about courage and courageous and oh my God, please. And
on AI though.
I'm disappointed.
I think maybe just the expectations. It just didn't meet your expectations. What? Also, the video just didn't work. 700,000 views is really sad. Okay,
it's really, I'm sure that they really thought it would go viral, right? Don't you think? Now I have to say, don't you think they thought it would have gone viral?
100%.
And it didn't, clearly.
I'm curious what their sentiments are.
Let's ask him. Let's ask Sam Altman. What do you think?
How do you feel about your failed production shoot? Did you see Nvidia overtook Microsoft and Apple?
Yeah, so that was my my market news. If we move from news now to markets, we had really big news like Macron getting slapped by his wife and all this. We had the Sui DEX hack, not Sui hack. And the Thai SEC ruling against 5 exchanges. But in market news, for me, it was really big news that Nvidia beat all market estimates, despite not being able to export to China. And I am angry at myself because, as has been established on this podcast, I sold my Nvidia shares earlier this year at 113. I had bought them at 113, but I think I lost like half a dollar in that trade in 13 months. So I am in pain, but my ego still says it proves I was right. My heart was right, but my brain was wrong. I thought the Chinese market restrictions will hurt Nvidia, not so much in their sales, but in the market valuing their revenue and in the expectations going forward. And I don't think actually Nvidia even got the price bump that it should get based on the performance. They are in a market where there is their highest priced, best products have no direct competitor. Hello, and that's the biggest market in the world for the next 10 years, at least 10 years.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's being valued. So what am I? I'm an idiot. That's what I am. I'm an idiot. That's what we can conclude on. Oh, what is it?
Well, if you feel like it's undervalued, then why aren't you getting in?
Let's put it this way. I'm not getting back in Nvidia because I think the market will continue to undervalue Nvidia. So I think it's undervalued and it will not appreciate as much as it should be. Now, let me talk about my boys from Broadcom in the meantime, which is like the poor man's Nvidia. If the ocean floats, all the boats in it rise. It's sort of whatever that expression is in your language. Broadcom, peoples, I bought in February for 190. It's now at 247. Now, if I would have bought Nvidia, I would have stayed in Nvidia. It would now be at, what is it, 140 we just discussed? 135?
Yeah.
Broadcom up from 190 to 242 in 2 months. So there you have it. What do you think? Why are you not getting an Nvidia stock if you're so I'm so pro Miss AI and all this stuff?
I actually don't do stocks. I don't know. I'm missing out. I know.
It doesn't. Yeah, but what does it mean? I don't do. It's not like you're done now at 31. I've
never invested in a stock.
What does that mean? I was never on the internet until 1992. What does it mean you have to stay off the internet? I never had a cell phone until cell phones came out.
I've just never invested in it. And so, okay, it's something I'll start, but...
It's not an argument. I've never done it. It's not an argument.
It's not a priority.
If that is an argument, every person on earth would be a virgin. Well, because I've never done it. I'm not looking at that whole thing. Ooh.
No, I don't know.
What does that mean?
I don't know.
I've never done it.
Just never invested in a stock. I just went straight into crypto and just stayed in crypto.
It's hard to argue against it, although I do think we should ask our viewers and listeners, should we start each a portfolio, start with like $100 and see at the end of the year who did best?
I was
Something
just
like
thinking that. I would actually love to do, and we've said this before, but a $1 start on like my meme coins.
Why $1? Who starts investing with $1? That's only because then I cannot buy Nvidia. I have to only buy fractional shares then. Normally in serious companies, you have to buy the full stock, you know? I mean, hello.
No. Okay, you do it however you want. I'm gonna do my one to $1 million and then be a millionaire.
Okay, we can do 2 races. Let's do this. By the way, when I suggest this and then you go, yeah, I was thinking that. That's like the worst thing. When, oh yeah, I have this idea. Yeah, I had the same idea.
No, I was.
Then.
So I was thinking now over the last week, what I did, I started looking at meme coins again, right? Because we had that nice little bull run. Everyone got excited. Sentiment was back up. Managed to get into this really low cap. I think I said it a couple of weeks ago. And it's a super low cap token.
And you didn't mention the name of it because there was some guy from Bangladesh that was now getting involved.
No, I just don't give financial advice. That's all.
Okay.
Especially not with those high risk tokens, right? I just don't want anyone even finding it because there are like 20 of the same ones. You're going to get scammed in 19 of them.
That's true.
So I put in $20 and yesterday I took out 80.
Yeah. So that's basically why would I then start a competition with you where you can start with this nonsense stuff? That's like gambling. Then I want to say I can use my $1 to go in a casino and just put it on a blackjack table or something.
So
it has nothing to do with investing.
I did that in Vegas, right? I went around all people leave like 10 cents or like, a penny in the slot machines.
Yeah.
So I was cashing out those tickets. And then finally, when I could get one spin, I think it was like 14 cents that I'd gathered, put it into the machine, won $36. Played with that $36, walked out the casino with $700.
After 3 weeks? No,
that day, like an hour. It was great. So shall we do a trading competition? We can start with $100. I'm fine with that.
Yeah, but then you're going to go and buy 1,000. Wait a second, I'm not quick enough in math for this. You're going to buy 100 times 100 shitty tokens. You're going to buy 10,000 shitty tokens and take out like 80 million.
So I hope so. That'd be really nice.
$100. Yeah, okay, that's good. Let's do 100. I can buy fractional shares. There's one trader I think I can buy fractional shares. It's non-sponsored, so.
How long are we going?
Here's what I will do. I know Christmas, between now and Christmas, and then every week we can check back. I'm going half crypto, half stocks, which is high risk for an investor.
Okay.
But you're going stocks.
What's a stock?
Okay, let's do it for next week. Okay, let's do that. I think it's going to be fun. I'm already thinking now, which I shouldn't do now because my brain very slow, very mushy. I will think about it next week. We'll discuss our picks. Are we going to deploy the full 100 in the first week?
Up to you.
Oh, you are. No, I'm asking you. I mean, it's like equal opportunity nonsense.
Well,
yeah.
I have $73 in Solana right now from my trade in this one wallet. I might just start with that.
Oh, we have to start at the same base level. So I think we should start at 100.
Well, Sui, I was super bullish on. I love the way they responded, but chart's not really reflecting that. They're 8% down today.
No. Exactly.
Yeah.
So Ada.
Well, I did get into BitTensor though, finally, after years of knowing it. Which I'm really annoyed at because when I first saw them, they were at like $136, and I was like, okay, cool, and just didn't get in. And then I got in at $450, and now it's at like $400. But I'm here for the bigger picture. So
yeah, plus there's still room to go up, right, Nish? It's still. Yeah.
There is, yeah. And I finally figured out exactly what they do, which is why I got in, because I was fascinated by the way that they work. So we kind of go through this. I've gone through this before, but BitTensor, their main motive is that right now, the majority of AI is run by 5 main companies. And quite frankly, it just gives them too much power. And it creates a lot of blocks for other people to build new products. It's monopolizing the market without giving any opportunity to some amazing products.
Stifles innovation. Fully agree.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So what they've done is they have created AI infrastructure that's built on blockchain. So you can deploy your AI tools, launch it on their testnet, and then once the community votes that it's good to go, then it launches on mainnet. Now these subnets, as they're called, are actually AI products. And each subnet offers, like users come in, they train it, they get rewarded for training the product. Anyone who uses it and interacts with it, they get rewarded. The builders get rewarded. So it's a really holistic ecosystem with the way that it's working. So it's really cool.
But I checked it.
But basically, each subnet is an independent community of miners who produce the commodity and validators who evaluate their work. So it's like just back and forth. And then every time their blockchain is used, it generates the Tau token. And these Tau are used to reward participants.
Yeah, that's really good. Because it rewards people for participating in the ecosystem. And the more you participate, the more rewards you get. So that's good. Are we going to go and then spread it out over a bunch of crap tokens and then gamble? Or are we going to go with 1 or 2 or 3, very targeted? So this approach is going to be interesting.
Like you want to do half stock, half crypto. I will probably do half, one between 20 to 50, another half in complete degen trades.
So half crazy, half sensible for being in the crazy world of crypto. I like that approach. Okay, we discuss it next week. So then I think we're done for this week. I'm really looking forward to next week. And now I have some homework to do, thinking what am I going to buy? Because I cannot lose to you, of course. It's not that I mind losing to a woman. I mind losing to you. I mean, that's a huge difference there. I just want to make that clear.
I'm okay with that.
No, it's like I'm setting myself up for failure, Tony. Like everybody, all of my friends are like, you're completely clueless compared to her. I'm like, yeah, and you're my friend. What does it say about you? So like everybody really says, if you ever start doing that with her, you're going to get creamed, because everybody thinks you have this great insight and that you're like in the middle of all of it. So you'll get like tips and you get like early access.
It's so funny because
blah,
really,
blah, blah, blah.
I just rely on my gut. I don't know how to like help. I saw a token called cheese. I was like, cool. Did it 8x? I was like, great, sold, and that was it.
Nothing. Just like you saw a token called cheese and then you thought, let's buy it. Well, that's great investment advice. This is your podcast for this week. Only advice here, financial advice. Invest like Nish. That's basically what we're saying. That was irony, people. I just want to say that clearly. Just for
Do
the
not
algorithm.
invest like
irony. Do not invest like any of us.
The only takeaway from this podcast is keep up to date with crypto news, tech news, emerging markets news, and political news, because it really impacts your life.
Unfortunately, the markets as well, yeah. So thanks for watching this week. Like, follow, and subscribe wherever you are. This podcast will be available also on LinkedIn. And anything you want to add before as we close?
Gather round, kids.
Have a nice weekend.
See you next week. Bye.
See you next week.